Back to Harbaugh. Should Democrats regain control of the House of Representatives in November, there's one word we might hear a lot of in the future, in fact, pretty soon: impeachment. But New York Times columnist Charles Blow warns that it's quite possible that trying to impeach and remove Trump could have the opposite effect than the one desired. It could boost rather than diminish his popularity, and an acquittal by the Senate would leave an even more popular president in office. Well, let's bring in the Harbaugh round. This is a tough one. David Jolly's a former Republican congressman in Florida. You know, he doesn't talk like one. Nancy Cook is the White House reporter for Politico, and Clarence is the columnist for the Chicago Tribune. I'm going with you, Clarence. I've known you forever, and I trust you.
Thank you.
Is it smart, or should they do to talk impeachment now to rise up the progressive or left base to get them out, minorities included, get them excited? If you get a Democrat in that Congress, we're going to get rid of Trump. Is that the smart politics of this year?
I think Charles Blow is right. What's the old line about? If you're going to attack the king, you got to kill the king, because, otherwise you're doomed. Look what happened to Bill Clinton. They tried to impeach him. They did impeach him, but they didn't kick him out of office, and his approvals went up, and Newt Gingrich is out. Next thing you know, I mean, this is what happens. Trump will suddenly become much more.
Carrying on at the same time he was attacking Trump.
That's why I'm saying to go into all that.
Well, it's all true. It's relevant information. True. Nancy, smart move to go for the big I word now. If you're running for office, say in the suburbs of Philly, suppose you're running in a tough area that you might be able to pick up, even though you're a bluey in a ready neighborhood. Is it smart to talk impeachment?
Well, I think the problem is that you're not really putting forward your own agenda. You're just reacting to Trump if you're just going with the impeachment message, and you're not talking.
But that's the way most Democrats talk. I talk to them all the time. They all talk about how much they hate Trump. That's all anybody talks about, how much we hate Trump.
That's true, but I feel like successful candidates are going to be able to carve out a niche talking about economic issues.
We have a poll that challenges that thinking. It challenges, you and I agree probably. Democrats definitely vote for somebody who's for impeachment. 70% of voters will say they'll vote for a candidate of the Democratic Party that says they're for impeachment.
Look, the anti-Trump movement's going to take care of itself. Democrats don't need to talk about impeachment. They need to talk about the economic disparity in the Republican tax bill and the fact that the Republican health care plan leaves people behind. The anti-Trumpers will be there. I do think come January, when Democrats successfully take the House, you will see hearings within the House, not specifically about impeaching Donald Trump, but they'll bring the scholars in to say what actions and behaviors rise to the level of impeachment. Who's that smart? Is this Jerry Nadler going to do this on the House Judiciary Committee? Of course, because here's why. Because they can have these scholars come in to the Judiciary Committee and say, this is what impeachment would look like, and Democrats not quite there yet, but guess what? All of us will be talking about it.
I know you're a Republican. You don't know quite well the culture of the Democratic Party. Within the Democratic Party, there's the Black Caucus, for example, and a lot of progressives who are not a minority. And that group of people will be damn screaming for impeachment by next spring. How do you hold them back, Clarence? How do you tell people from Chicago? It's your entire delegation from the city, from
It's not going to be easy, but I think Dave's right. You know, there is a strong enough anti-Trump sentiment already in the party. You don't need to gin it up. The party needs to reach out to people who those who voted for Obama and then turned and voted for Trump. But you had over how many counties?
I'm not used to people agreeing with me so much around here. Clarence and I think exactly alike. I think they're the ones you have to turn. The people who vote for Obama, and including the ones who voted the first time for him, they'll be harder to get, but the ones who voted for the second time, you can get. They voted for Obama after they knew he was a liberal Democrat. They then stuck with him, and then they went over to Trump. What's going on here?
Well, I also think, just back to the point of impeachment, I think Democratic strategists are also making the point that Democrats should recapture the House and actually find evidence for impeachment and make sure there's that evidence there, or at least sort of investigate before they go with that rallying
cry. You've read your civics book.
Democrats have one
But I love
shot.
you guys. I never thought I'd meet a panel. Usually the panel is much more progressive than me. And I have to fight for the reasonable position, what I think is reasonable. You guys are out reasonable in this. Anyway, the roundtable's sticking with us.